And we're live
Hey everyone, it's Ken and Kathy Cushman.
with Cushman Coaching and Consulting.
And we're here today talking to you about what really matters. And today we are talking about, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about creating results.
Creating results. Okay.
You know, here we are in December, and as we approach the beginning of the year, you know, I think in everybody's mind, I know it's in mine and it has been for years, as people start looking for, you know, what are we going to do next year? You know, what is it I want to accomplish? What's important to me? You know, where do we go from here? You know, we've created what we've created so far. Now what? And so I think it's really important, especially this time of year. You know, so how do what do you do when you're going into the new year? You know, I know before I did the trainings, the whole thing about New Year's resolutions, and, you know, we talked about New Year's resolutions and how next year was going to be different and blah, blah, blah.
I was always going to work out more and lose weight every year.
You know, it never seemed to pan out.
Right.
You know, and I know up until I started doing the work, you know, I always would make decisions based on how I was feeling in the moment. I really never set goals. I'd look and say, okay, I want it to be different, and next year it's going to be different, but I never really got clear about what I wanted.
Well, and I didn't think about setting goals as far as my life. Like for work, I could like set some goals, but I didn't think about it for me. I was actually thinking about this today, and this is what I was thinking about. One of the things that I haven't done very well, that I think is very important in creating results, is looking at the results that I've created. And what I need to add or what was missing as I move forward. And I was thinking that's something that I'm really committed to doing this year as we close out the end of the year, is beginning to look at, you know, what are the results I've created this year based on what I wanted, and where can I improve next year? Where can I you know, what were my strengths and what were some of my weaknesses, so that I can, you know, just do better next year when I set my goals for next year.
Well, I know this, and we talk about this in the trainings, and it's one of the ways that when I'm working with people and I'm coaching someone, I want them to look out to the future first, right? I want to set a goal based on, you know, what's really important to me or what's really important to you. You know, really looking out to the future and how do you want it to be? Because I know for me in the past, I made my choices going forward based on what I did in the past. That was my evidence. That told me where I could start from and then how I could get to the next level. Maybe I increase it by 20% or 5% or whatever it was. And it was really, for me, the past was kind of dictating the future. You know, and so my future began to look a lot like my past. Now, there wasn't anything wrong with it because I was continuing to grow. I was taking new taking new ground. And one of the things I learned as I started doing the work is we want to stand in the future that we want, not based on what's happened in the past or how I feel or where I am, but really what matters to me, what's important to me, and then choose from there. Now, what you're saying, looking back, I could look back and go, okay, so what worked and what didn't work? Not looking back to decide where I'm going to go, but looking back so I can begin to learn from it, you know, and get the value of looking. So I think that's important, looking back, but not to decide where, but so I can be more effective going forward. You know, if you're out there watching, make sure to comment. Oh, somebody commented, I didn't even see it. I'm sorry I missed you. Nope, it wasn't someone's comment. That was the automatic comment. You know, there's a comment in the comments that says live stream is delayed by 20 seconds. For a quicker response, join us on Zoom. We are not on Zoom. I don't know how to get rid of that comment, and I'm going to figure it out at some point. But right now, disregard that because we are not on Zoom. We're here on Facebook Live and actually on YouTube Live. So if you're out there on YouTube and you happen to see this, you know, make sure you subscribe so you can see our other videos. Actually, there's a playlist that has all our Let's Talk About What Really Matters, all the different episodes that we've done. So if you missed any of those and you want to go back and see them, you can actually find them in one place there. So make sure you do that. And you've heard me say this before. If you haven't gone out to our website, CushmanCoachingandConsulting.com, go out there, and even if you have, make sure that you're registered. register, and then you'll be on our email list. We're going to start doing emails again on a regular basis. We kind of got away from that, but we're going to go back. And so make sure that you're registered. Also, it'll put you in a drawing, and every month we're doing a drawing for Breaking Through that's coming up in January. Also, we're going to be doing a special drawing in December for around Christmas time, for the holidays, for Christmas, for Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and all that. So make sure that you're registered and you have a chance that you can win a scholarship that can support someone.
Or maybe yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. January might be a good time to really get, reconnected and clear about where you're going from here.
Yeah. It is. It's a time that people are really looking at, where am I going and what's important to me. And you talked about like looking at your vision or looking at where you're going, what it is you want to create. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, how one of the things that I struggle with is staying connected to my vision, right, in a day-to-day basis, right, and or staying connected to that goal or that thing that I want. Mm-hmm. When I'm busy every day, I got to do this, and I got to go to the grocery store, and I got to, so what are some ways that you can stay connected to your vision or get connected to your vision? What are some suggestions you have about that for people?
Well, one, I know that's really important. I remember Robert Pleasance, one of our friends and colleagues, used to always say this: vision doesn't stick.
Yeah.
And I get that. When I have vision is something out in the future, something that hasn't happened yet. So it's not necessarily tangible. But it isn't tangible because it's out there. I can't get my hands on it. Mm-hmm. Right? So holding on to it sometimes is challenging. Like you said, with the distractions that are happening and everything else we've got going on. And it's easier to focus on what's right in front of us.
Yeah.
And for me, taking time to get quiet. Sometimes in the morning when I'm waking up, the voice isn't so loud in my head, all that internal chatter and all the other outside distractions. Once we get on the phone or on the computer, there's so much going on. So for me, when things are quiet is really the best time to really begin to connect with what's important to me. Mm-hmm. I know this, and over the last 20 years, probably longer, but I know for at least the last 20 years, keeping my goals lined up with my purpose, that's been important for me. Mm-hmm. Right? And on a daily basis, connecting with our goals, or connecting with my goals and connecting with my vision, right? Mm-hmm. That's important. Whether it's sometimes maybe if there's a lot going on, maybe doing some meditation, getting centered, mm-hmm. right? And quieting the mind, and then really beginning to allow myself to look out in the future, to connect, to dream again. Hey, if you're out there watching us, drop a comment, say something, share something for you.
Yeah, how do you
how do you create your future? Like
your
vision, the goals for the future. How do you stay connected to it? We're really looking at going into 2023.
Yeah.
Just 3 more weeks and we're going to be in 2023. Imagine that. I still can remember back when we started the trainings. This was back in 1993. I thought about 2000. That seemed like a long way out, but never really thought about 2023. Yeah. In planning and goal setting, there were some times I wrote some goals out there, and I know to date that I've accomplished most of those goals mm-hmm. that I worked on back in the beginning. So
one of the things you said was, I think you said something about writing the goals. And I think that's one of the things that's important for me and helpful to me. I'm very, I like to have my paper and pen. And so writing about my goals, I know, is really important for me and helps me dream and kind of imagine in a way that sometimes I struggle just trying to think about it on my own.
Mm-hmm. Dennis used to talk about stream of consciousness writing, right? Quieting the mind and then just start writing. The intention is to really look towards the future, but I'm not going to censor what's coming into my consciousness. So just writing, just continuing to write and write and write, not worrying about making it distinct or grammar or anything like that, but just letting myself outflow. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I can be really surprised by some of the things that would come out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? By just letting myself flow and let it come out. And then I find that once being in that kind of flow where things are just coming and just flowing outwards, that's where the stuff starts to float up from the unconscious. Mm-hmm. And there's usually some pretty important things there. And sometimes I might see some fears written in there too. Mm-hmm. But that's part of what helps me begin to connect with that. Mm-hmm. Now, once I have it, writing down some specifics, mm-hmm. right? And then, maybe sometimes posting that where it can remind me, mm-hmm. Coming back to each of those goals, reading each goal, connecting with it on a regular basis. And depending on what type of goal it is, sometimes connecting to it on a regular basis throughout the day can be very helpful too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and for me, one of the things that I find really supportive is having a coach, right? Having someone to support me in what kind of, once I have that, okay, now how do I accomplish it? Because I'm actually better at coming up with big, hairy, fairy goal things. But then when it comes to day to day, okay, so today that means I need to write 10 pages. Mm-hmm. Then I struggle a little bit more with that. And for me, that's one of the things that supports me is having someone to hold me accountable to set some of these short-term goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe it's a coach, like a formal coach. Mm-hmm. You hire someone that's, coaching's become a big thing today. Yeah. But finding someone that you can express to and mm-hmm. get feedback from. Having someone that maybe can see you from a different perspective. And it could be a close friend, a committed friend. Mm-hmm. Someone who's willing to be honest with you rather than just, want you to like them and, and just go along, yeah. Having someone who can say, hey, I think you're off track, or, they can see you from a perspective that you can't. So that's mm-hmm. always been very important to me.
Yeah.
When you were talking about the day-to-day things, it made me think about, or what came into my consciousness was the process that Dennis Becker has developed. We've actually done one of those processes with him, and that was the Kudo process, the Kudo mm-hmm. workshop.
Right.
And mm-hmm. Dennis developed an accomplishment process around the ancient, I guess it's Asian art of Kudo. Right? I think it's from Japan, and mm-hmm. it's through archery, but he put together a process that supports you at getting your goals laid out and your daily actions and things like that. So sometimes having a system like that can be very helpful in mm-hmm. accomplishing those daily goals.
Yes, absolutely.
I know this in our in the past in our leadership programs and in our AIM program mm-hmm. and some of the other things that we do. We've had a personal strategic plan. We call it a PSP. Some mm-hmm. of you who have done the work with us and done the workshops with us, you might have had a PSP, or way back in the beginning when we started that, we used to call it our letter of accomplishment.
LOA.
Yeah, an LOA. It was a specific set of goals, mm-hmm. A tangible set of goals in a specific time frame. Right? And we usually used to use a 90-day process because mm-hmm. Our leadership program and the stand or AIM was always set up in 90 days, so it gave you 90 days to practice. Right? And so setting up a set of goals that you're committed to accomplishing within that 90 days, and then breaking it down into benchmarks, maybe 30, 60, 90-day benchmarks, and mm-hmm. then taking that and even breaking it down even further. What we're doing is what we call chunking it down. Mm-hmm. Making it into bite-sized pieces. Maybe you've heard the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? Mm-hmm. One bite at a time. Many of us are up to some really big goals. And when we look at them, sometimes they mm-hmm. seem somewhat overwhelming. Like mm-hmm. we can't get our hands around it because there's so much there. Mm-hmm. By chunking it down, by breaking it down into bite-sized pieces, maybe it's daily, Or I know when I was still in sales, I used to break days even into hours that to keep myself on track. Right? That I would be at a certain point by 1 o'clock and at a certain point by 2 o'clock and on and on. And those things kept me on track, you know. And then having someone that holds me accountable like a coach
Right.
is also very, very important.
Hey everyone, if you're out there, how do you do it? How do you stay connected with your vision and your goals? We're coming up to the new year. This is Ken and Kathy Cushman with Cushman Coaching and Consulting, and we're here talking about your vision and goals. And so what do you do? How do you stay connected to your vision? How do you create that? What are some things that you do to support yourself?
Yeah. Have you even come up with your goals for 2023? I know some people start early on. I know for me, it was usually the week before, the week between Christmas and New Year's when I really started going, oh shit, I got to get serious about this. Of course, my work goals, because of how our season used to work, was always done in the fall. So I was already at that point already. But then there was personal things. But many times it was always last minute in starting to plan. And I know that didn't always serve me. But do you have goals? What are you up to for the next 12 months?
Well, and I was just thinking about something when you said that, is because a lot of times when we're looking at the beginning of the year, we're looking at maybe like those big goals, but maybe not necessarily like relationship goals. That's one thing for me that I have not really. I think I struggle with like measuring. How do you measure relationship goals, right? And I know other people struggle with that too. So what are some things that we can talk about and support people with around relationship goals? Setting those goals. Because a lot of times we don't think about that at the beginning of the year, right? We think about, oh, well, my health, and I want to take care of my health and eat right, or, I want that new job or start that new business. But what about relationship goals? Let's talk about that a little.
I know this. When I'm coaching someone around relationships, when I'm doing relationship coaching, I have people, one, get clear about what they want in their relationship. I know when I started doing this work, I really felt my relationship was really good. And I think that was one of the things why I didn't have a goal in that area, or I didn't think about it, because I thought my relationship's fine. I really didn't realize that let's see, I know it today, but why my relationship is the way that it is that I'm always creating and recreating. Right. In the past, I didn't. It was great. And I know it would get better. Just keep moving forward and it's going to get better. I think I've said this when we were talking about relationships before, but when we walked into our workshops, we really felt our relationship was probably an 8 or a 9 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. We were married at that point. We had been married about 12 or 13 years. And, I compared my relationship to my parents or to my friends and what I saw in the world, and really felt that we had this really great relationship. And as we did the trainings,
and we did, right?
Yeah, we had. Yeah, from
not compared to what we have now.
Yes,
but for then.
Yeah, and I'll say this: what we have now was not available to us back then. I couldn't have written it down. Like, if back in June of 1993, you asked me, write down how you want your relationship to be. And on my enrollment card, when I was setting goals, I said better relationship, because I said I needed a third goal. I didn't think I needed one. But they said, oh, you have to have a third goal, so I put better relationship. But that's all I had. That was all the content, just better. Well, what does better mean? And I hadn't really thought about it. And even if I did think about it back then, it wasn't in my consciousness. Like, I didn't know that it could be the way that it is today. I didn't know to want what I have today. And so I didn't set a goal. Now, as we started doing this work, I knew, it was important to me what I wanted in relationship, and what my vision for my relationship became was an intimate, connected, passionate partnership. So that's kind of been my mantra or my focal point in my relationships. So the things that I do in my relationship with you, I want to be consistent with what I'm looking for in relationship. And not that I'm looking for it from you, but what I know today is I'm the source of it. And so it gets to come from me, and it shows up in the space. And that's my feedback. But that's where I start, is having people connect to what's the relationship that you're committed to having. Like if you could take a magic wand and wave it and poof the relationship, how would you want it to be? Not based on how it is now or how it was in the past, but if you could change it right now, how would you change it? And you want to be specific about it. Now, one of the things that I'm doing in relationship coaching, and sometimes I think it makes kind of a weird thing for people, is to write their vision for the relationship without the person, without the who. Because the reality of it is we want what it is I'm committed to having in a relationship with my partner, regardless of who that person is.
Right.
Right? And this is, whether you're married or in a committed relationship, or you're looking to create a relationship, right? You always want to start with that. So if I could have anything, how would it be? And I leave out the specific people. And that's where I have people start. And I think it's a little bit of a challenge for most people, because we're very attached to our partner. And it's not saying don't worry about them, but let's just start with what it is that I want.
Right. Well, I mean, it's kind of based on that whole idea that it's up to me. I'm creating the relationship. So on some level, the other person doesn't matter because I'm bringing this. Right. Okay.
I know this. That was an awful hard concept to really get my head around the beginning, that the other person doesn't matter. Now, I know for some of you who haven't done the work, and even some of you that have done the work, that might sound a little strange.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. But what I learned, and the power that we have as human beings in creating, whether it's relationships, which could be your goal for the year, right? Or your career, or your health, finances, whatever it is, that it's up to me.
Yeah.
And it comes from me. I am the source of it.
You have the power to create what you want in a relationship. I think that is so, so important for people to get.
And I believe all it takes is one person in the relationship to stand there. And when they do, we have the power to begin to create it by who we're being and how we're showing up for people. Now, when both people are standing there, right, is very cool.
Yeah.
And it's great when it's just one of you, because that's how powerful we are. We have the ability to create and generate whatever it is we want, whether it's relationship, again, career, finance, health, family, and that. Thank you for the thumbs up. We don't know who's out there. Make sure you comment. We saw the thumbs up, but comments really help us see who said it, so we can say hi and say thank you. If you're out there, feel free, share a comment, share an experience. Even if it's off topic, that's fine. Even later on, if you're watching this on the video, you could comment. We'll respond to you, or you can comment to us directly. We'd appreciate it. We love your comments. We love your likes. Today, we're talking about moving into the future, creating results. 2023 is right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
Before you know it, we'll be kissing and cheering and hugging for New Year's Eve, and then 2023's in. So how do you set your goals, or what are some of the goals that you're up to?
Share with us what you're up to.
Or what challenges do you have around this? There's a great opportunity to share and ask questions.
Or share advice. What do you do? What are some tips that you do? When you're setting goals.
Sometimes I know people don't like to talk about, but sometimes we have some really good lessons in what doesn't work.
Yes, that's true. That's very true. I have some good lessons.
I know this. Before we did the work, my goals were usually based on the past. What have I accomplished? Right? So I'd look, okay, last year, it created X amount in sales, and we brought in X amount of new customers. And then, so next year, okay, let's see, what's doable? Well, a 20% increase. And that's kind of how I came up with goals. But again, there was two things about it. it became easy because it didn't take a whole lot more just to take it up a couple more percent or another 10 or 20%. It really didn't. You know, when I really started creating extraordinary, when I would step out of what I knew was possible. And I think that's a challenge that some people get into, that we set our goals inside of what we see possible. And that's very limiting. You know, we talk about how we're in this kind of box, our little paradigm that we operate from in the world. And a lot of what we do happens inside that box. And whether it's a relationship goal or any kind of goal, like I said before, thinking about what's really important to you and declaring from that point, whether it's in your box or not, you know, and then I can start taking action that's consistent with what I'm committed to, and then I begin to expand my comfort zone, my box, right? And then my results actually fall into what I have. And then there's the next level of expanding my box even more. You know, where I've come from over the last almost 30 years, in June it'll be 30 years of doing this work, my box has expanded so much. You'd think at some point we get to a point we'd stop. We've accomplished more than we can, but you know, if you look at anything in the world today, everything that's happened throughout history has proven that to be wrong. You know, you look at money today, like how much money is in the world. I can still remember when I was younger, being a millionaire was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, there weren't any billionaires, or maybe one. I'm talking about going back, and now there's many billionaires, right? You know, go back to things like, you know, I talk about this on the first day of the training, you know, a belief at one point in the world that the world was flat, you know, based on evidence that they had and their experience of what was out in the world, they thought the world was flat. And we've learned that it isn't. I know there's some of you out there that still think it is, and good for you. I don't think it is, but a lot of people, we've kind of got that the world isn't flat. Right? If you look at what's happening in like sports, right? Every year, Olympics, you know, whether it's the Summer Olympics or the Winter Olympics or whatever's going on, the different type of sporting events, we keep breaking records. You know, there was a time when the 6-minute mile was just amazing. There were times when people said the human body can't do any more. And now, you know, the mile's under, I think it's under 3.5 minutes. You know, but we keep taking it to the next level. And each and every one of us has that next level. And each and every one of us, we have the ability to take it to the next level. It's just these blinders that we have on, these filters. You know, we talk about the training, our belief system, our filters, our mindsets. They keep us on the path that we're on. And sometimes that doesn't serve us. The opportunity is to begin to move past it, pull back the blinders. You know, Kathy, you mentioned having a coach. And a coach sometimes can help us see when we're, you know, in that tunnel vision and we're off track. Now, sometimes tunnel vision can be very, very important, like very focused. Yeah, let's say focused, when we're very clear about what it is we want, and that pulls us forward. But I think a lot of times, too, it's still important to be able to pull back and have some of the peripheral vision so you can see what you might be missing.
Yeah. Not
just staying so focused on one thing. You know, sometimes, you know, I can get stuck and be right about how I see it, and I can't see any other possibility. And I'll say that with what we're doing, not today, but in doing the trainings online. For many years, we didn't think it was possible. I didn't think it was. I said we didn't think it was possible. A lot of people didn't. If you would have asked me, you know, can you do? A lot of
people still don't.
Yeah. Can you do these trainings online? I used to say this. No, you know, it's experiential, right? And we had to break that mindset, and it took a lot. The other thing that we're starting to learning is how we communicate about the workshops, how we reach people, as that the old way really wasn't working. And so starting to pull back the blinders again and get off of that central focus is this is how it's supposed to be, or this is how you do it, which is very limiting. I know this many times in the past, you know, we coach people about looking outside their box, you know, get off the automatic. And I know for me, I get really stuck in, well, this is how we reach people. This is what we do. This is how we do it. And again, things are evolving. and not necessarily working the way they used to. So now we're getting out of the box and beginning to think, in a different way. You may get a message from us, or you might see the survey that we're doing online. If you could take a minute and fill that out, it would help us. We're really looking at what is it that you got out of the trainings, so we can support other people at accomplishing some of the same things. We're looking to narrow our focus to reach people versus the broad point of view. But that's just another way of beginning to move us forward.
Yes.
So thanks for watching or being here, everyone. This is Ken and Kathy with CCC. We're talking about accomplishing results in 2023, preparing for that. As we go into the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking about different ways to move forward on our results. But I think the very first place to start is to really get connected to what do you really want out in the future? What's important to you? If you could have anything, how would you want 2023 to be? When you get to this time next year and you look back, what did you accomplish? Did you go for what was really most important? And that's what I want for people. That every December, when they get to the end of the year, they turn around and they go, holy poop. How did I, look at what I created. Right? And that's possible. You just got to get committed. First, where do you go from here? What is that future that you're committed to creating? What do you think would be important to talk about before we wrap up today?
I think that's it. I think that's the main thing. I think that was the main point we wanted to make, was about vision. Creating your vision. And the one thing I'll say is that one of the things that's always really supported me with that is having someone support me in dreaming and going deeper. A lot of times, just on my own, I can struggle with that. But if I have someone else, that I'm sharing about it with, that I'm talking to about it with, that's, asking me questions about it, that is very, very helpful.
It brings me to the process that we developed that we call Vision Quest. Mm-hmm. And we used to do Vision Quest process or Vision Quest interview with people after coming off the first level course to really get clear. Once they start to pull back some of the blinders, right, and they start noticing what are the filters that limit me, what's the mindsets or the beliefs that have been holding me back, they can begin to look past it. And having someone, a committed person, a committed coach or a committed listener that can support you at just really beginning to dream again. Which for me, that's what, Vision Quest is all about. Looking outside of that box, really connecting to what's most important to me. Right? And so that process of Vision Quest helps me connect. And then from there, I can start looking for what vehicle am I going to use, what mechanisms am I going to use, what actions am I going to take to begin to move forward. I think connecting to vision, and then what can I learn from what happened in the past would be the first couple of steps. Looking back and go, what lessons can I learn? Not that the past tells me what I can do, but how can I be more effective? What can I do more of that worked? And then what can I begin to alter that didn't work? When I do that, then I start moving forward in, I would say this, an exponential way, much greater than before. And that's where we begin to create some extraordinary results.
So this is Kathy and Ken Cushman Coaching and Consulting, and we've been here talking with you about what really matters, and we're talking about creating results and your vision.
So we hope you join us next week. We're going to wrap up this episode. We're going to continue talking about where do we go from here with results. And so we'd love you to join us. Please share the video with other people. Love people to connect and find different things, and maybe they'll join us next week. So you can look for us. We're usually, we'll schedule somewhere around 1 or 3 o'clock, but we'll say it ahead of time so you can try and be there, or you can always watch it off of either my page or the Cushman Coaching and Consulting page or our YouTube channel, CCC Transformation Channel. Those will all be listed there. So for those of you that watch and those of you who watch later, thanks so much for your support.
Thank you.
We
Love
hope-
you guys.
We hope to hear from you in the future, and have a great rest of your day and creating something extraordinary.
Bye.
Bye bye.